of the previous day after it was announced. And interbank lending and credit markets remained stressed. The problem was that AIG, which received emergency loan from FRB, around at least $165 million for 73 stockholders and employees. It is clear that it is difficult for a company which is continuing its debt by the money of a taxpayer to provide the staff with bonus in the worst situation. The biggest problem is AIGFP, who provide with the bonus, but it is the principal offenders who led AIG to the bankruptcy. The CEO of AIG Corporation, Edward Lee, said that a legitimate problem occurred when the company did not provide bonus because it promises before the bankruptcy. AIG, an battered insurance giant that has received federal bailouts totaling $170 billion and is now paying $165 million in employees' bonuses, is at the heart of the global financial crisis that President Barack Obama is trying to address with a plan for trillions of dollars in spending. President Barack Obama declared he intends to stop it from paying out millions in executive bonuses. It said it is hard to understand how derivative traders at AIG warranted any bonuses, much less $165 million in extra pay. Obama said at the outset of the appearance to announce the help for small businesses hurt by the deep depression. So Barack Obama mentioned that the retreat and said the Treasury should demand that the money back and those of the executive should be fired. We might be confused to understand the ongoing AIG controversy, so here is the helpful chart to understand how bailout went down and complete with which bank got how much. Except the bonus scandal, the revelation that billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars were funded through AIG to Goldman Sachs, one of the Wall Street most politically connected firm, and to European bank, including Deutsche Bank and Deutsche Bank, France. And Goldman received the aggregate $14 billion. And among European bank, Societe Generale was the biggest receipt at $16.5 billion. And this rate got $8.5 billion, according to the chart. The fact that billions of dollars given to prop up giant insurer AIG were then transferred to European bank and Wall Street investment houses could raise new doubts about whether the rescue was really economically necessary. Goldman Sachs, formerly led by Hallie Person,
I would also mention that the Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, other banks, of course UBS is Swiss, all those other banks were basically involved in subprime loans in Europe. The whole shebang of them, and they had taken insurance out from AIG. So it may look like Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch, but the money was actually lost in Europe. Thank you. Keep going.
And Hallie Person, who was Treasury Secretary at the time of original AIG bailout, said as it has in the past that its AIG positions were collateralized and hatched. Okay,
yeah, that's right. Collateralized. That's good to know for the final out that right now.
I'm researching and I'm talking about AIG bailout timeline and whether this bailout is working well or not. In 2007 August, Goldman Sachs demands that AIG post $1.5 billion in collateral. AIG agrees to post only $450 million. In October, Goldman Sachs asks AIG for another $3 billion in collateral. In November, AIG reports over $350 million worth of unrealized losses. In December 2008, and other $1 to $1.5 billion of unrealized losses due to credit default swaps comes to light from AIG. This makes a $1.5 billion shortfall for the year in 2007. Despite all this, Martin Sutherland tells his investors the following. AIG's economic loss is close to zero. Their risk modeling system is very reliable. Since the transactions were conservatively structured, the AIG risk model had a very high level of comfort. In February, Joseph Casino resigns, meaning that he'll no longer be responsible for the bad stuff that the company is doing, but he'll continue to get paid $1 million per month as a consultant.
Gee, is that all?
In 2008 May, the total losses is already 26.2 billion, and the total collateral posted is 16.5 billion.
Uh-oh.
In September, the Federal Reserve steps in to save AIG by pledging $85 billion. This gives the government close to 80% equity interest in AIG. In October, the Fed gives AIG another $37.8 billion. AIG announces that it has borrowed $70 million. In November, the total owned under the $85 billion credit facility from the U.S. government stands at $62.3 billion as of November 5th. The government bumps up its commitment to $150 billion. And in December, AIG sells off the HSB Group. In January 2009, AIG sells off another fund management business to Merrill Lynch and Bank of America. And in March, AIG reports that $61.7 billion in fourth quarter losses, the largest quarterly loss in corporate history. The U.S. government puts $30 billion more at AIG's disposal. Even with all this, AIG pays out a number of employee retention payments, which is the bonuses. So now I'm going to tell you whether AIG bailout is working pretty well. Actually, yes. The firm used $140 billion of the $182 billion available from the government, divided between Fed loans and Treasury equity purchases. The bulk of that has returned to the government with interest. Having spent 2 years selling excess assets and modernizing its core insurance business, AIG is profitable again. The firm's only remaining debt to the Fed is a $9.3 billion loan, against which the central bank holds collateral valued at most twice that. So it's highly unlikely taxpayers will take the loss, and quite likely they return a profit. The remaining federal commitment consists of the Treasury Department's majority share of AIG stock. There's the good news on that front too. One Wednesday, Treasury announced that it plans to sell $6 billion worth of its stake. Cleverly, Treasury sold about half of that amount back to AIG. This gave Treasury an alternative to merely dumping shares on the market, and so boosted the price into demand on behalf of taxpayers. There is much not to like about the AIG bailout, starting with the fact that it was also an indirect bailout of the firm's counterparties, such as Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, and Societe Generale of France. As with the auto bailout and others, the AIG rescue will forever be subject to the criticism that is allowing businessmen to avoid paying the full price of their failures. As with other bailouts, the true cost-benefit analysis can never be known, since we'll never know exactly how big a catastrophe is averted. On balance, though, the risk of disaster was sufficiently high compared to the modest cost that the AIG rescue deserved to be labeled. If not a success, then certainly a gamble worth taking. This is the end of our presentation.
Lisa?
What is the difference between AIG and